You were like in your program, there was only one woman and it was you.
People are always watching. So even if you're not doing it on purpose, you're always creating an impact.
Kind of knocks people over in the first couple of years of business because they really didn't think it was going to be as difficult as it is.
I'm able to break down complex things from the tech side and explain it to you because as soon as I do, you will be like, oh, I can use this to solve this. I have this process.
Welcome to the Create Today podcast. I'm your host, Karen Stanley, certified rapid transformational therapist and hypnotherapist. And my passion is helping women heal from the past and learn how to create the life they love one day at a time. And this show is all about how you can do just that. My guest today is Katherine Mora. She is a technology advisor. She helps entrepreneurs and SMBs with technology direction. She's the founder of Amansi, and she's a speaker. She's an amazing woman and a lot of things. Katherine, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. I asked her before we started recording, she said she helps SMBs. I'm like, what is an SMB?
Well, I had to learn that too. But yeah, small, medium businesses.
Yeah.
There
So
are too many new concepts all over the world that is just too hard to keep up.
there are, and that's exactly why I wanted to talk. Well, there are many reasons why I wanted to talk to you today to help any of my listeners that are small to medium business owners. And with all, hey, how do you wrap all of this tech stuff? From my perspective, I don't even know. I'd have to go look at my credit card statement to see how many vendors I have, that are, this one does this thing, this one does that thing, this one does that thing. And I know one of your specialties is just getting rid of all of those different, strings and vendors and puppets and kind of getting them all together. And I'd love to know all about that. But let's start because your journey has changed a lot. You have pivoted a lot. You've been like doing amazing things and it's changed a lot, even like in the last year. But the first thing I want to ask is you're really passionate about fueling, helping, supporting women in technology. And I was just curious, why is that? Where does that passion come from, you think?
Um, that's a great question. I think I have a little story about that. So for me, I always thought that I could do anything I set my mind to. Luckily, my parents were really good at saying like if you put effort in the time, then you can get the results.
Mhm.
So I always had that mentality. But I moved to the UK 8 years ago, and around maybe like four or so, I was in a meeting with a lady. So just to give you context, I come from a computer engineering background, so it's usually just guys. And I got very used to just being the only woman in the room. Um, and
Really?
for
You were like in your program, there was only one woman and it was you?
yes, there were other ladies like as project managers or more like on the HR side, but usually ladies that will code. I've been in the tech space for 18 years, so then
Yeah.
now it's better. But before, like you could have more ladies in the company, but having more than one in a project was very rare.
Hmm.
So I just got used to be the only one, and I didn't mind, and it became the norm for me. And one day we were in a meeting and we had to collaborate with another department. And that department brought a lady, she specialized on AI and she was doing like the project management. And the
Mhm.
way she entered the room and the handshake, and then she took the lead. I was there with my architect, and it was very interesting because for me, I was like, wow, I haven't been doing like this because I've been waiting for them to give me permission to lead. And even the architect, the lead of the project, which was also my manager, he was like, what is this? So then after that, that's like I've always been passionate about empowering people, but especially women, because it's not that all ladies have to go to a engineering career, but at least it should be an option for them to take into consideration. And if they like it, it's not that, oh no, because that's a career just for guys, or I'm not really good at maths or this and that. So the reason why I'm speaking in more events now, and then I'm trying to work on my brand a little bit more because I'm I'm very shy on that side is because when people see you, then they can see themselves. And then if that's something that they will like to become, then that can be the way through it. And also sometimes people just need a little bit of a push. And another thing, I'm part of the Latinas in Tech community here in London, and the goal is to also empower ladies that are in the tech career or transition into a tech career. And I meet a lot of people that are doing all the right things, but they sometimes just need a connection or someone to tell them, oh, go this way or this other way. So that's sort of my passion. And I feel that have had a lot of people in my life that have been helping me in different areas. And many times they don't even realize. So I want to be able to do that for others as well.
That's beautiful. You know, it's really smart. That's a really good reason to pursue any dream that's scary. What you said is that when people see you, they see themselves, and you, any of us, any one of us could be just that little spark. Like you said, just some just need a little push. If they just see someone who may resemble themselves in some way, they might see themselves in you. It might just make the difference of them just putting in that application or just starting that business or
Mm-hmm.
applying for that job, just like doing that one little thing that it's been in the back of their mind, maybe. And,
Yeah, exactly.
John and I talk about that all the time because a lot of times you don't really get any, confirmation or any, intel, if you will, about somebody that you've had an impact on. And just every once in a while, someone will reach out or someone will stop by his dealership, and maybe they worked for him. Someone just came by the other day, and he worked for John, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And he just wanted to say hi and thank you. And he was like, I've listened to so many things that you said. You really helped me, and in this and that and this and that. It's just so nice to get a confirmation, but sometimes you won't get one, and you won't really have any evidence that what you said or did mattered to somebody. But I think that's also the reason why we have to keep going. You find a passion to help somebody, help the person that you used to be, who we used to be in our former lives, and share what has helped us, because you just never know. And if you don't know, it's okay. If you never find out that you've ever had an impact on somebody, chances are you'll get a little evidence here and there, which is kind of like a little icing on the cake. But I just think that's really wise and so smart. I
Yeah.
wanted you to tell my listeners a little bit about how you grew up and your parents being such a force for good and for being your cheerleader and the push for you in some instances. Tell us a little bit about your growing up in Costa Rica.
Yeah, definitely. And then just to add up to what you say,
Hmm.
people are always watching. So even if you're not doing it on purpose, you're always creating an impact. Like from my story, that lady, I don't think she even knows that she being there and doing that created an impact because I just saw her that time. So even it can be like 1 hour or months or so, but yeah, and it's really nice to hear that, John, as you're saying, like people will come and say hi and after you've had an impact. And I think we also need to be braver and bring these to people and tell them like, hey, you have created, like bring the good things out of them, because
Yeah.
sometimes we assume that they're like this magnificent person or like the ideal
Yeah.
version of everything, and they also have insecurities and they
Mhm.
also are struggling, but they're showing up. But yeah, so going back to your
Love
question,
that.
yeah, Costa Rica. So yes, originally from Costa Rica. I come from a small town called Turrialba, and I was very lucky because I was born in a beautiful country, surrounded by family, caring parents,
Mhm.
and family. Um, and yeah, my childhood was playing, swimming in the river,
Mhm.
cycling by the mountains, and we didn't have like lots of money. We had enough to survive nicely, like food and house, but not any luxuries. And my parents, both of them, were really, really hard to give my sister and I a really good education.
Mhm.
And every time that there were opportunities to sign up to clubs, then they will do that, like swimming or tourism or English. I even had a course about like programming. There was this little turtle that you can program. Um, and I'll just
Cool.
sign up for everything. So I feel that that gave me exposure to many things.
Side
And
note, sorry to interrupt. How much of the population of Costa Rica does speak English? Is it pretty prevalent or is it pretty easy to learn English or no?
Mm, I don't have the exact number, but many people speak English because Costa Rica is like a technology hub. So many companies, so we have big companies like Intel, HP, Microsoft,
Hmm.
they have big offices there. And Costa Rica is the education system. So education is free for everyone.
Hmm.
And so the education level of people is really good. Also, universities are free, most of it. And the public schools and universities are also really good, the quality. So that brings this, and we also get a lot of tourism. So we get a lot of people from the US, and
Mm-hmm.
now we also get a lot of people from Europe. So part
Yeah.
of our,
I'm dying to go.
yeah, yeah,
I want to go so bad.
promoting
And
Costa
my
Rica. So
nephew is going there in March. He's going to serve an LDS mission. He's going to Costa Rica. And I'm like, oh, I immediately thought of Katherine. So exciting.
you need to go and visit him.
Yeah, I'll
But
go
yes,
visit
I
him.
think there's a huge population. So um, they encourage us, or like we have English classes in school, in high school, but not that many lessons. And I
Hmm.
think it's up to us, or like if you go to certain schools, like at least for me, my mom paid me some like English courses every now and then, like whenever there was some money. And I was very lucky because I was able to go to a bilingual school. And it was like the first year the high school was starting, it was the year that I was going to high school, and I was able to make it. So I got like 10 hours per week of English, which
Mm.
wasn't that much to speak, but I really liked it. So I used to listen in my times to songs and record it on the cassette and listen to it
Wow.
back. And then
I
just
was
practice.
just thinking, when I took Spanish in high school, if I would have had 10 hours a week and if I actually cared as much as you did about learning English, I would be able to speak Spanish now. I feel like, gosh, I just kind of threw that all away and I didn't really care about it. And I know a few were, it's just makes me think it's like, well, that's double what I had in high school. And I only had it for 2 years. So that's actually four times the amount of English training or of, language training that I had available in high
Mhm.
school, but I didn't also care or put in, hardly any effort in that class. And I just kind of did the minimum to get by. It's kind of sad because you're completely fluent in two languages and I could be too. But so just for comparison, that's a lot of training. 10 hours a week
Yeah.
is a lot for all 4 years of high school.
Yes.
But then you also did
I
extra at home.
Yeah, I
That's
liked
awesome.
it. And as I started working, it was a company from the US, so then I have to write in English. But I wasn't really comfortable speaking English because I
Mhm.
was I was scared of making mistakes when I was talking. And
Yeah.
I also used to think in Spanish, translate to English, then you speak to me, then I'll translate back to Spanish. So um, it wasn't until I moved to the UK and then that I met my husband who doesn't speak Spanish that I was forced like properly to speak English. And then there was a point where now I don't think in Spanish. I think directly in English. So this is good. So then that's why you don't see me when I'm
Interesting.
really tired. I struggle uh,
Hmm.
in coming up with the words. But I feel that like in your case, right? Like you weren't forced to speak Spanish, and for me, it wasn't also until I was forced to just speak in English that I became fluent. So that's
Right.
the thing, right? Like you need to use it or lose it and get the
True.
reps to get
It's
it.
true. It's like a musical instrument. You won't learn, you won't remember how to play. I mean, you won't be as good unless you practice every day. It's so true. Well, that's amazing. I was just thinking about the languages in general, and I remember my brother who served a mission in Japan telling
Mhm.
me that same thing. It took me, like a whole year of living there and speaking Japanese to stop the translating from English to Japanese. And then he was actually thinking in Japanese. I mean, the brain is just amazing. Anyway, me geeking out about languages real quick. But what's cool is that your parents were both entrepreneurs, right? Didn't they have their own business?
Yes. So
Yeah.
my father has a truck. So then it's like moving people or
Hmm.
plants or materials for construction. And my mom, she used to be stay at home. And then when my sister and I were older enough, then she started her own business and she started selling toys, and then it grew and grew. So she started having like a clothing store and selling everything. And thanks to that, we got additional things in the house, and she started traveling a lot. So I really love traveling. So I think I get it from my mom, because as she
Mm.
used to travel to the US to buy clothes to bring back to sell in Costa Rica.
Mm.
And then she traveled all over the world. So I think my both of them, they gave me they taught me different things on how to tackle this entrepreneur world.
Mm.
Although I most of my career was as an employee working in corporate environments,
Mhm.
but like if I think of like most of my family, most of them have their own businesses, and many of them didn't finish high school or university, so they couldn't opt for like one pay job where you needed some sort of degree. But yeah, they told me the value of hard working, and then also the struggles that you have when you're an entrepreneur and you are your own boss. You have a lot of benefits, but at the same time, all the load and the pressure is on you, but it's also very rewarding.
It's true. I think that part is the most surprising because of for most people when, especially when you're younger and you're like, I want to, as soon as I own a business, I'm buying a yacht the next day. It's a false sense of what it means to, because of social media, you can,
Mhm.
go on a set and take a picture looking like you're in your own private jet and you can like rent a boat for a day and make it look like it's yours. And I think it's surprising, kind of knocks people over in the first couple of years of business because they really didn't think it was going to be as difficult as it is. And you didn't know how much you're going to have to learn. And, you just kind of learn as you go. But that's a good point because now most people are shocked. Every entrepreneur I talk to has loves it and loves being able to provide jobs and provide homes and, I mean, home for their family and jobs for their people. And that's all we talk about is how hard it is and what we're struggling with. What do you need help with? How can we, help you solve your problems?
Yeah.
So I'd love to talk to you. So that's a great segue to, okay, so how do you help entrepreneurs and how does your journey from an engineer evolve to helping business owners now? It's cool. Just tell us a little bit about how you kind of got to this point, and then what do you do? How are you helping entrepreneurs with all this technology and now AI that
Mhm.
most people don't understand, including me?
It's so hard to keep up.
Yeah.
So I started my career in the corporate environment, working
Hmm.
for mainly companies from the US.
Hmm.
So uh, like 8 years working in Costa Rica and doing consulting work for mainly US customers. So I was very lucky that I will go for business meetings to the US, and that also helped me to travel and get exposed to another
Yeah.
language and different industries. And then when I came here, then exposed to the European and UK market. So most of my career I was doing technology consultancy, and it was focused on data and search. And as you were mentioning at the beginning, big corporations and all the companies have different systems. So if you have many vendors for your tools, imagine a huge corporation, they have systems, many systems, and each department sometimes or lots of times have their own different systems.
Oh
They
my
could be using
gosh.
the same, but they prefer using another one. So part of the work that I used to do was in the search part. So if you think about Google,
Mhm.
then you go to Google and you can search everything. Is very easy. You get like the best results. So how can you implement like a Google search like engine in your corporation? So then you don't have silos of data. So then you
Mm.
can, what the marketing department is doing or the research team is doing, if you have access, if you can have access to that information, if it's not
Mhm.
sensitive. Because one of the challenges in bigger organizations is that it's hard to find this data, or like, do you know who has this information? Do I have permissions to access this? Or if I have the data, how do I read the data
Find
and
it.
understand it? So part
Yeah.
of the work was going and talking to people, understanding what are the different systems, what are the pain points, like what information, if you have more handy, will make your life easier, your employees more productive. And then think of it and in terms of like an object, like what would be like this document where you can put like all the different pieces from all the different systems that will help you make those decisions. So it was a it was stressful, but really nice because everything was different every time that I'll visit another customer because none of them
Hmm.
had the same setup. Um, and that was basically the work. So working a lot with the data, understanding it, and then putting it into a search engine. So then you can go and search and then magically get all the information. So that was most of my career. And it was really nice because I work with big corporations like Verizon, with Hershey, um, in different industries like oil and gas, in fashion, and pharmaceuticals. So that gave me a lot of exposure to different areas and see how a lot of them were having similar problems, but also the specific things of each industry that you need to when you think about tech, a lot of people think of it in an isolated way, but you need to be able to incorporate it with the business and what is it that the business need, and then adjust your technology to the business. So
Right.
understanding the industry allows me, for example, to speak to people not in a very technical way, and understanding how can you link technology and use it as a tool to help your businesses and your strategy and grow, instead of thinking as this magic box that will solve your problems, which is in a way what is happening with AI, that whenever you say the word AI and my company has AI, then automatically now my company is the best. But if you don't know how to use it in the right way or have the right data for it, then it would make a lot of sense. But yeah, so that was sort of my corporate
Mm.
environment, but always I found myself on the side, like trying to do something else with more
Mm.
impact. And around 2 years ago, that's when I started my own company. I was going to move to a startup, and then certain things happened and that didn't work out. And then that was, I say that God pushing me because I wasn't brave enough to do it on my own.
Mhm.
Say like, you
I
need to
love
go.
it when he does that.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't think I would have done it. I would have probably still be working in the corporate environment. And then that's how I started my company. So it's been a
Mm.
journey trying to figure out what is it that I'm offering and how can I support people? Because I think even with you, when I started, you have been supporting me a lot, but I remember you struggling understanding what is it that I do and how can I help you connect with other people, because I don't really know what you do. And the good thing is that I know so many things in the tech industry, but that's also confusing. So when I'm thinking about of a business, then a business is solving problems for people. I can solve many problems, but if people don't understand what problems I can solve, then they cannot relate to me and then think of me as a person that is that can go and fix something or help them with something. So
Yeah.
overall, my goal is to bridge the gap between tech and people, and
Mm.
then technology to amplify the good or create a big impact. Like you, for example, you are creating a huge impact in the world. So how can you rely on technology to reach out to more people or be more powerful? So that's sort of my goal.
I
Tech
love
for
that. Yeah, we
and
can't
yeah.
you can't not use technology. I mean, can you actually run I don't think you can actually run a business with technology. I was thinking about, I mean, without technology, I was thinking if the power went out or even like that major data breach with CDK, I'm sure you heard of that.
Mhm.
Luckily, my husband's dealership doesn't use that one particular company. And so our systems didn't go down. But for thousands and thousands of car dealerships across the country, and I know they have other clients in other categories too. I don't know what they are. And they had to go back to old school and they were typing out contracts like, like in the 80s and 90s. And it really makes you stop and think like we cannot actually do much with, I mean, you can, but it's like I love the bridging the gap between the technology and people because 9 million things. And so you don't even know what you know. You don't even know what you know because it's just you've been learning it, been studying it, been doing it, been building systems when most of us business owners have not. So it's
Mhm.
like you start talking, I don't, I understand, like that helps me realize that, man, there's a whole lot that we don't understand. And I'm always wondering, it's like, I would rather hire someone to do the things that I don't understand. But at some point you must come. in the middle somewhere. You have to be able to understand parts of it and able
Mhm.
to communicate to you, right? Whoever you're hiring, like someone like yourself, you still have to be able to get to understand a little bit so you can figure out what's going to be best for your specific business and your needs, right? So you're
Exactly.
actually you're like an educator most of the time. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, I call
Yeah.
it. So one of my goals is to help with tech literacy or AI
Mhm.
literacy, because as
Yeah.
you're saying, it's correct, right? Like you have the tech, and if you speak with many people that work in the tech space,
Mhm.
there are so many things that are easy to do, but we don't have the business context. So we don't know that
Mhm.
this is a problem. And then if you think from the tech side, oh, this is very easy to solve, but I don't know that this is a problem that you're having. And unless you connect the two, and as you were saying, right? So you don't need to know everything about the tech side, but you need some sort of knowledge, because you need to be able to uh, see what things eventually can help you in your business, relying on technology, or at least communicating and articulating those. So and that's the hard part. Like in most of the projects that I've worked, in the customers that I've worked, some of the challenges, or whenever they don't work or whenever they get delayed, it's not necessarily a technology problem, it's that communication part. Because then from the tech side, we either didn't understand properly what was the business problem or case that we were building or working towards to, or we were talking and we said like, perfect, we agreed. And then I understood this, and then you understood this. And then we were not really on the same page. And then that's the part that is that where the struggle happens.
Yeah.
And this is something that for me, like I've been working really hard and improving so much, which I'm very proud in the last couple of years. Like having the consulting background helped me a lot, but now it's like, okay, how can I think more like on the business side and be more involved in the business side? So then I'm able to break down complex things from the tech side and explain it to you, because as soon as I do, you will be like, oh, I can use this to solve this. I have this process. I'm repeating this every couple of days. And then if I use this other tool or things like that. So it's giving you like those little nuggets of information. And then you are the one that understand your business and your customers. And then you'll be able to say like, oh, if I had this, then this will help me with this. And then that's
Mm.
the part where the technical people can help you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think you just explained what I didn't understand until just now is that it's the gap is between the technology and the business brain, the entrepreneur. This is what we need in order to grow and create or have or continue a successful business. And then you got the technology and finding out which ones you need and bringing them together and marrying them. That's so cool. You don't think about it. It's like I need tech people and then I need a business person and then I need a salesperson and maybe a marketing person over here. And then what happens if everybody is just too segregated in their own little teeny world? Well, then it might not integrate. It might not, you might be better off if everybody, understands quite a bit more about, every little segment. And then the other thing I was thinking, there's another reason why you need to learn a little bit, and I've had to learn a little bit, is because people leave. You have staff, they get pregnant and they want to stay home with their babies afterwards, or they get sick, or they want to retire for whatever reason. One of my employees is finishing up school and she really wants to finish. And so I hired a new person, and it's like that stuff happens. And you need to be able to understand enough to train a new person if somebody is not well or is not able to come to work or has an emergency. You know what I mean? It's just
Mm-hmm.
something that was happened, recently, just the last couple of weeks as another example of bridging the gap. So I know that you created the coolest app. I think it's called Habitual Growth. A friend of ours is the founder. To the two friends, of ours are the founders. Really, really, really complicated and really unique, application. This specific application to help you, achieve your goals and stay, have your own little accountability partner. It's a lot of things. I mean, it's just amazing. What other things are you doing to help? in your consulting to help small businesses that would help other small businesses, any listeners that have small businesses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Habitual Growth, it's an amazing app, and it was really nice to work with Lisa and with Nathan,
Yeah.
and going
Good
through the whole
peeps.
process from the beginning. Um, I work like in two different ways. So then one is the technology advisory, and the other one is with my development team.
Mm.
So people come to me, like if you think of it like a fractional CTO or technology advisor, and it's more like talking, depending on, doesn't matter the stage of your company, like if you're a small company or like a big organization, you
Yeah.
always have some tech challenges. So for example, for some customers in the US, they needed to create some proof of concepts or to be able to automate certain things on their side. So like create like a chatbot. And it's funny because a lot of people now want a AI chatbot. And then it was just going through the process, understanding the business and then recommending technology for it. And sometimes, and this is the thing that I tell everyone, like you don't need the latest technology to solve some problems. So some people say, I need an AI chatbot. And then as you start digging deeper, it's like, oh, maybe in the end you just needed some forms and
Mm.
organize things in a way to improve the concept and get people onboarded. And then now you can go and build something bigger.
Mm.
Or in other cases, the advisory is a little bit more technical, which is like you have like a more complex solution. So then we need to come and then start asking questions and do like an assessment and then technical
Right.
assessment and then say like, okay, you are here, you want to go in this side. So for example, we did this for a customer that music streaming, and that works mainly on the sleep space
Mm.
and in the well-being space, and do like an assessment and say like, okay, you want to eventually simulate certain things like Spotify, Apple Music, give music recommendation, understand how your music is actually benefiting people in when they're sleeping and or like with certain diseases and things like that. So it's understanding what is it that you want to do. You are here, you want to get here. What are the steps that you need to take in order to get here? Because sometimes, as you were saying before, like it's not magically that you think like, oh, let's just plug this and it will solve the problem. There are
Yeah.
certain steps that you need to follow. So if you, for example, want to implement some AI, you need data. And then if you want to personalize things, you need data based on your industry or whatever solution or product you're building. And it's like how you collect certain signals or pieces of data to be able to recommend a song for you or things like that. So that's like more like in the advisory side. I'm also a CTO of a startup called Good Mind, which is a sustainability startup that focuses on waste reduction. And
Mm.
the whole idea is that there are so many things on the earth that instead of digging for more, why don't we use what we have already and repair or reuse? And instead of throwing everything away, then let's go and repair something and then give it to someone, or let's rehome it. And then how this information can be used by retailers and bigger companies. So then we can all create a positive impact and not just putting the load on the consumer, but
Right.
businesses taking responsibility of that. So that's sort of like the advisory side. And then
Mm.
on the development side, then it's like basically anything. Like if you want to build an app, if you want to build like a data platform, if you want to, usually those are like the main things. And I know when I say data platform, you're like, what is that? But
Well,
it's
I was
like
going to ask you, and what type of company would need a data platform?
platform.
So give us some of the problems that
Mhm.
you are presented with so that maybe small business owners could identify maybe we have the same, type of challenge that could
Yes.
be solved with data platform.
Yes. So overall, anything with data, it's is something that we specialize. And the idea is that how can you use data to make decisions? And many companies are already doing that, right? Like you can have like a spreadsheet and then tracking information, and based on that information, then you can make financial projections,
Right.
and see how many customers you're getting. There are already many tools that you sign up for that giving you insights. So
Right.
whenever you think of data, then you can think of it of insights. So what data are you capturing and how can you transform the data for you to be able to make better decisions or for you to give insights to your customers? If you have a product, for example, then how can, and you can think of it like salespeople, right? Like when you have like those pipelines, and then how can you get certain points and process the data and show it in a way that is meaningful? Because if you think of technology, then it's very abstract. And then someone that is not in the tech space is like databases or spreadsheets or I don't know, you name the system, but that is not valuable for the people that are like salespeople, business leaders that are making the decisions. So I don't know, like an example could be, so in this waste reduction company, the whole idea is to be able to capture information about what things are out there and what people need to get rid of. So overall, we're collecting information about, maybe I have a table that I don't need because I bought a new one and I want to get rid of it. Maybe I had a coffee machine that broke and I need to either repair it or throw it away. I'm moving back to I'm moving to another place and I need to get rid of everything in my house. So we're gathering information, and then based on that information, then that's where the magic happens, because that could be part of your business. I forgot the
Plan.
word.
Yeah, your strategy
Differentiator.
or like, yeah. Oh, your
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then what can you do with this data? Then we can get insights of, okay, what are the products that are breaking the most?
Mm,
Uh, what are is there something seasonal that I don't know around, maybe when I don't know, when in the US people go to school, right? Like when people are leaving university, then the dorms, then they need to get rid of everything because now they're going back to home. So like you can get certain insights, and then that data, that's where many companies are making the money now, because it's how can you capture certain data and transform it into something that makes sense. So as we were talking before, you are the expert on your business, and if you were able to get access to certain data points, you will be able to advise your customers in a better way, or generate a product, or create a product that you can sell to someone that is going to bring insights that you have from the experience that you have gathered throughout your career. So that's sort of like the general sense, but bigger companies, for example, cybersecurity, in order for you to identify if an email is it's sent by a scammer, then they
mhm.
use all these data points to identify, oh, it's coming from an email address that is not part of your list. It has certain typos. It's coming from an IP that is blacklisted somewhere. So like many companies are managing all this data and information in order to be able to, in this case, cybersecurity, protect you from opening emails and clicking on links that you shouldn't, to also make informed decisions about how people are behaving. I don't know if it makes sense, because it can be very complex, but it can also be very, very simple, from
Mm.
very specific use cases to something where you're thinking about gigabytes of lots of data. Yeah.
Well, that's an excellent point, because one of it is to grow your business, give you all the data in one concise. Because the way I was thinking about it is, as you were explaining, um, my small business, I was just kind of looking at all of the metrics that you have. If you're trying to grow a brand or a podcast, in this case, a YouTube channel, then you have all of these different metrics that you are looking at. You have to log into this one on YouTube. You have to log into Instagram to see those. You have to log into Spotify to see those. You have to there's so many dashboards. And I was saying this the other day, if somebody gives me one more dashboard and one more thing I have to log into with a password and email, I'm going to literally explode. My brain can't handle anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, because if you can think of a data system, then it can be one that captures the information
One.
from all of them. So you don't have to go through each individual one and aggregates the information. So it pulls the information and everything together. So then you
Oh,
go
yeah.
to a single one. You have the dashboard. It's like, oh, I can see how I'm doing on YouTube. How am I doing on Spotify or Apple
Well, that's not
Podcast.
even it. And appointments, sales, sessions, RTT sessions. Like it's just in addition to, you have so many more than that. Even the ones that I just said, but then you also have it. You're running a business. You're selling something,
Mhm.
providing a service that someone is paying for. Then what are those metrics? What are all of those? It's like I have so many, and so that's brilliant that what you're doing is figuring out what you need to know and
Mhm.
giving it to you in some tangible, easy to digest.
Yeah.
That would
And how
be
you can find patterns,
amazing.
right? Because for you, you have many data
So,
points
so
we talk
many.
about. And then how then can you connect as we were talking about, like bigger organizations having multiple departments and each department having a system.
Right.
And it's hard to know what person in each department is doing. Like in your case,
Yeah.
it's the same, but in a smaller scale. And then how
Right.
certain information from here can bring you information here that will allow you to offer a new service or that help your customers better when you have the therapy sessions and things like
Mm,
that. Or like on the YouTube videos, right? Like, or in the podcast, which sections are the ones that people are listening the most. And then it means that there might be a gap in the market or people would like to hear more about that. So it's all about that. Like everything nowadays is data, even with AI.
mhm.
Everyone thinks AI is a magic box, but AI without data is nothing very relevant
Doesn't
because then
exist.
it's no, yeah.
Well, I'd like you to explain that just in case somebody doesn't really understand.
Mhm.
AI is not coming up with anything.
Yes, so AI has been around for a really long time, and now the boom that happened in the last couple of years was because of generative AI, and that's AI that can create content for you. Like when you tell them, write me an email for this or create an image about this.
Mhm.
The boom that has happened is because now we have more computer power. So like if you think in the past, then in my time, like having a computer was very expensive. If you buy like a computer with a lot of resources, will cost lots of money, and then you installing programs. It was a
Wasn't fast. They actually were not
exactly
fast at all, not
no
comparatively.
exactly. Now in your phone, you have more power than in the computer that you had a couple of years ago. Uh,
100%.
So the reason why also AI is such a huge thing now is that um, it's easier to access to more computing power. Like if you think of a car, right? Like computers that have a bigger engine and then can process things faster. And then in that way, what it took before for someone to develop something on the AI world, you needed to have lots of money. You need to have also a lot of specialists. Where we are now, AI is available to anyone, even if you don't know anything about like the coding or technical side.
Hmm.
ChatGPT, for example, is giving you, they call it like an interface that you're used to, right? It's a chat. You're used to sending messages. And now we abstract AI from something that you have to code in black screens like you see in the movies to something that I can talk to. And then automatically it's like, okay, like now anyone, doesn't matter if you're technical or non-technical, can use AI and benefit from it. So part of like the whole boom, like now it's towards generative AI, which is generating text or images, but there are many other types of AI that have been used in the past, but you needed to have more money, you needed to have specialized people, and nowadays you still need to. It's not a magic thing, but we were, well, no, we, because I'm not a scientist, data scientist,
Well,
but
not yet.
all the smart
I don't know. Who says you're
science.
not?
Well, because
I
it's
think
like a
you are a data scientist, actually.
no, I know a little bit about AI and how it works, but like the proper data scientist is like it's another level. So
Okay. You have more levels to achieve, but
yeah.
you're still a data scientist.
Um, yeah. So then nowadays they're like they call it models,
Hmm.
AI models. So then before, like you needed to train the models and train the models, but if you hear now with um OpenAI and from
Hmm.
ChatGPT from or OpenAI, from Google, from Meta, all of them they have their own models. So now the problem is not that you don't have a model. Now what you need to do is what data are you going to put on top of it, to train your model. And I think
Mhm.
last time we spoke about it, like you can think of AI like someone before it was someone that didn't, like a baby doesn't know how to say any words and you had to teach them everything. Nowadays, AI, you can think of it as someone that just finished high school and has knowledge about how to write, how to think, how to solve certain problems. And what you want to do is take it to university. And then do you want your AI to be a doctor? Do you want your AI to be a marketing specialist? Do you want your AI to be a psychologist? And then that's the part where the data is so important, because then you have like the foundational models, which is your student that just finished high school, sorry. And then data is super important because it's like, okay, let me give you these courses, these books, this information. So then now you become an expert and now you can become um, uh, a doctor, or then you can specialize and become like a neurosurgeon and things like that. So that's why it's important that the data, or companies that before used to collect a lot of data, now they're making a lot of money because other companies are interested in buying their data so they can train the model. For example, with photos. With generative AI, you can go and ask, like, draw me a picture of this and that. But in
Mhm.
order for this model to be able to do that, you had to train it with data that said, this is a house, this is a car, this is a
Mhm.
person swimming. And then, for example, Tumblr, or I don't know, all these places that you can upload photos for free before,
Mhm.
then become very valuable, because then other companies that need to train models then need access to all this data. Or like in social media, right? Like we're uploading things to Instagram and Meta,
Mhm.
and then overall they are data companies. And they're
Mhm.
using our data to be able to come up with models and insights, and then sell insights to other companies.
Yeah. I mean, in case nobody knew this, but that's the only reason why social media exists, is to collect all of our data.
Why is it free? Free.
Why is it free? Let's just think about that. Oh, it's so funny. That's a really good analogy, though. It doesn't know what a house is until you show it a picture of a house. So, in order to do an artificial intelligence photography, you have to train it with photography. You can't have one without the other. You have to show it what's a mouse and what's a mouse and what's a cat. Otherwise, it's not going to know what to draw. And I love that you said that and explained it that way, because I don't think anybody's explained it that clearly. And that really is a great analogy. I love it.
And the beauty is that now that's trained, so then it knows what a
Yeah.
cat and what those elements are. So
Yeah.
then now you can train them more like a more advanced things. For example, in the medical space, it's very exciting, because then you will be able to identify or detect cancer before help people in the X-ray areas and things like that. So that's why
Yeah.
it's so exciting right now, because we have this foundation of that knows how to identify the basic things, and then you can go above and beyond
It's
depending on what it is that you want to build.
brilliant. Well, I really appreciate you so much for sharing your wisdom and taking the time and energy out of your day to be on my show and share with our listeners. Just tell my listeners how we can find you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was a really good
It went
conversation.
by so fast.
I know. Yeah, had lots of fun. Yeah, you can find me on, well, my website is amansi.io. I'm also on Instagram, and that is Kath Mora. And I'm also working a lot on LinkedIn. So if anyone is on LinkedIn, I know many people is more like Instagram or Facebook, but on LinkedIn, that's where I publish more content and try to connect more with companies and educate a little bit more. But yeah, feel free
Awesome.
to reach out to me if you need anything to chat and or explore any potential partnerships or opportunities.
Yeah, you're wonderful. Thank you, Katherine. And I'll put all of those links, and I'll include your LinkedIn link as well. That's a good point. I should probably start asking my podcast guests for their LinkedIn. A
Yeah.
lot of, there's a lot of people. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn too, but I'm not super active on it. So I need to get better at that. Thanks for the reminder. Katherine, thank you so much. And thank you, listeners. Have a great day. Thanks for doing this. Thank you for being here and listening to my show. If you got any value at all, it would mean the world if you shared it and left a review. Remember, the only way to create the life you love is to take it one day at a time. Create today. God bless you.